Welcome to Constructive Conversations, Building Canada's Stories. I'm your host, George Affleck. Thanks for joining me as we dig into the foundations of Canada's construction industry, learning from leaders and pioneers in the business. Today I'm joined by Aaron Jones from Kraun Electric, based in St. Catharines, Ontario. Aaron's been at Kraun for almost 20 years now, joining as a laborer and working his way up to president and CEO, so it's fair to say he knows the company and the industry inside and out. Let's start the conversation now. Aaron, thanks so much for joining me today on Constructive Conversations. I want to find out more about Kraun Electric. Maybe it's the best way to do that is to ask you to tell me about it. Tell me about your customers, the services you provide, and everything about Kraun.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're a full-service electrical contractor. We've been in business for 25 years. We actually just celebrated our 25th anniversary. And we really do everything. We do residential, we do industrial, commercial, institutional projects, primarily throughout Southern Ontario. And there's not too much in the electrical market that we don't touch.
You're based in St. Catharines, but you actually work within the whole region. It's like the whole Southern Ontario region. Is that complicated?
We're expanding right now. So we actually just opened a new office last year in one of the neighboring cities in Hamilton. So, and we've always followed some of our good customers outside of our traditional area as well. So, and we're having good success. So we're continuing to expand.
How do you manage your team when you're based in St. Catharines and you've got to manage your team when you're doing what you're doing? How do you manage that?
That's a bit of an art. So we are constantly evaluating the work we have coming up, the work we want to bid on, and we're looking at who we have. We really try and actually build our team in the cities that we're going to be going to, or as close to as possible. And once we end up in a city and we start to build a team out there, we'll just continue to look for work in that area, and we'll continue to keep that team busy. So. Yeah, it's bit of a balance.
The team kind of works independently. It sort of works as its own entity. You kind of build its team infrastructure and really focus on its energy in each of those markets.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we have some people that we give them a truck and they more or less just work out of their truck. And as we grow in that area, we grow that team, and then we'll put an office there. And then we just work really hard at trying to stay connected with our team back here.
You sort of have a scaled model that you can say, okay, this works here. I can move this to this and grow it from there.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So, but for us, because the culture piece is so important with the company, we do it slowly. We won't commit to an area where we can't find the right people, the right staff, and make them feel a part of the team. And also, we're not going to commit to a customer if we don't think we can follow through with it.
Tell me about your ideal customer. You've got a customer base, you've got several markets, but who is your ideal customer?
An ideal customer for us is someone who is they understand the quality of the contractor they're getting, and they're looking for a really high touch contractor. They're looking for someone who's going to provide a really good experience. We put a lot of effort into managing our projects. We put a lot of effort into we try and be the best contractor on any job site. I mean, we're a subcontractor. We're generally just one of many contractors on a project, whether it's a new build or a renovation. We're generally trying to be the best one there. So someone who wants just the cheapest price, not necessarily, we're competitive, but our ideal customer is someone who's saying, you know what, I want the best electricians that are going to make this project happen on time and manage it really well.
And residential and industrial and office, but size of projects, is there a minimum, or you don't have to get into the specifics, but I'm thinking, how do you know when you go, that project is kind of the one I want to go for, is something that we fit perfectly in?
So we're pretty diversified at the company. So we have a residential service side of our business. We'll come to your home and we'll fix a light switch for you. And then we'll do projects in the $4 or $5 million contract range too. So anything much bigger than that is where we're starting to stretch into. But a lot of commercial projects, industrial projects are, especially institutional buildings and stuff, are in that range, kind of $1 to $5 million size. So we take on pretty much any of that stuff.
25 years as a business, approximately. How has that customer base changed in those years? Has it changed a lot, or is it basically just scaled up?
Yeah, it's just basically scaled up. I mean, the residential stuff we've gotten into a lot more in the last decade or so. The industrial stuff, we're really, we've done that for a long time, but we're doing it on a bigger scale now. So yeah, it hasn't changed a ton.
You've actually been in the company for a long time. You've actually started for basically as a contractor. Is that right?
I started as a laborer. When I got out of college, I started picking up garbage. My first day on the job was actually taking the boss's lawnmower in for repair. I think because he didn't know what to do with me. So, but then after that, I was picking up garbage after the electricians and doing all the grunt work. And so I've been here for 18 years now.
That's amazing, though. I mean, to go from a laborer and taking the lawnmower. Although I would say that getting to know the boss and doing something very specific for the big boss is a good way to kind of build a rapport with someone. I would imagine.
Yeah, well, I did what I was told, but I came in and whatever they gave me, I just worked really hard at it. So, and 3 years ago, I bought the company. So it's been a fun. I think it's 18 years now that I've been here. So.
How did you grow from a schooling point of view? Is there training on the job? I mean, to go from guy in labor, schooling to be the CEO, to be an owner, there's a bit of a difference. There's a bit of a gap there on how you got from A to Z.
Yeah. So what I did was, I did my apprenticeship. So electrical apprenticeship's about 5 years. So I did that. I got my license. They gave me the chance to run some work on the job sites. And then they were looking for an estimator in about 2010. And they had seen me kind of handle, I got an opportunity to handle a really tough project that we had. Towards the end, it was a big mess. And I said, I got to use some of this computer technology. I got to use Excel and some different things to get in there and try and organize this all. And so I guess they thought that was a kind of a neat skill to have. So then they said, hey, look, I'd love to give it a shot in the office doing some estimating. And I fell in love with that side of the business, the sales side and just the business itself. And so what I decided to do is I actually started taking university courses part-time for a business degree because I wanted to learn everything I could about business in general. And so, so I just started pouring myself into my work. I started doing that schooling to learn what I could. I did it slowly. Tried to apply what I learned to the business. So, here's an interesting concept in theory, right? How do I apply this to the business? And because the business was growing, I was just, I was getting opportunities at the company to kind of try new things and try my hand at things, work my way up. So,
I guess that's my next question. But why stay so long with one company? Why bother? Why not move on and excel somewhere else and get yourself up faster? Why stay with what? Was it the culture? What was it that made you stay?
Yeah, the culture is awesome. So the history of the company is very, I would say, forward thinking. So the previous owner, he didn't shy away from new opportunities, trying new things, and so there was always something new for me to try. I mean, it never felt dull. They were open to hearing my ideas. They're open to trying new things. It wasn't a huge problem if you made a mistake, and so. Why would you leave, right? It was close to home. I got paid well, and I got lots of good opportunities to try. And what else do you want in a job, right? So,
True.
Yeah. So it's been great.
So now you've made it to the top. You're the big wig. You're the owner. But what are some of the challenges that your industry is facing right now?
Okay, the number one challenge is people. Shortage of trades, right? You hear that out there. You do a quick Google search, you'll find it everywhere, and it's absolutely true. We feel it. So we've grown. We've probably well, we've at least doubled in size in the last decade, and it's becoming harder to find really good electricians. Not just electricians, but even people just in the industry that have that electrical background, that construction background, because those type of people tend to make the best project managers, the best estimators, because they have the actual experience. But right. Really, really hard to find. We have really high standards for the quality of the people that we hire too, and so we're a little bit picky and picky. I think we just want to hire the best people. We want to have the best people out there, and it's hard to find in general, let alone the best people.
Yeah, when you're certainly selling yourself as the best and premium, and you need to have the people that can to actually facilitate and get the work done, right? What about
customer-oriented people? Like we that's one of the components we're looking for is people that love serving the customer, because we do that. Customer service is really important to us. I think that's one of the things that makes us different than a lot of contractors, because we're just dedicated to it. It just doesn't feel right if we're not putting our full effort into it. And you got to have the right people that have that mindset.
Besides the people, what about things like materials and that kind of stuff, and getting the costs and how they've changed, or obviously smart home technology and all that stuff that's coming along?
Okay, so it's a big challenge right now, but certainly, so the way I look at it, the materials challenge is that you never know what the prices are going to be going forward. And in our industry, all construction contracts are virtually lump sum bids. You give someone an offer and you got to hold that price from now for a year, 2 years, whatever the project is, right? You can't predict where those materials are going to go. On the flip side, it's very difficult to get locked in kind of pricing from your suppliers unless you're doing tons of stock,
wow,
right? Which is expensive too. So I think that's a challenge in the industry, the way the contracts are laid out. There's just not a lot of flexibility for that. And I think it leads to irresponsible pricing sometimes from other contractors, because there's the industry is all about low price, right? Or at least a certain segment of the industry is.
So they'll lowball, even though their margins must be super tight, though, especially if things that the costs go up in labor and materials. If those go up and you've already lowballed, how do you even? Then you have to cut something. Something's got to give, right?
That's a problem
for those other guys.
Yeah, it's definitely a problem in the industry, because people. It depends on the construction buyer, but generally speaking, they want to hold up that low price, right? Low price. And it puts a ton of pressure for contractors to put those cheap prices in. You got to make it up somewhere. You got to cut corners somewhere if you go down that road. So we try and avoid that as much as possible. We try and go in with responsible pricing. Sometimes that means we're not going to get a job that, we know that's a responsible price and someone's going to lowball that thing. And it's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
So how do you combat it? How do you combat the staffing issue and that materials issue when neither are particularly predictable? How do you combat that?
So on a staffing issue, we spend a ton of time forecasting the work that we have coming up and where we're going as a company. So literally every week we're looking at our forecast for people, what we're going to need 12 months out. Right. Obviously, 12 months out is a little bit less accurate, but we're looking at 12 months out. We're looking at next week. We're looking at 1 month, 3 months, 12 months out all the time. If we've got work, or we even think we're going to have some work, we're looking at what we're going to need. So we're pretty proactive on the staffing. On the materials side, what we've done is we've made some really tight supplier relationships, and so that's allowed us to really leverage. If we get into a problem with material, we can use those relationships, and we've been good to our suppliers. I think we're very good to our suppliers, right? We're paying our bills well. We're committing to them. They're getting good volume. What we say, we do, and we generally, we try to treat our suppliers the way we want to be treated. Those good relationships help us to manage the material not only the cost, but even just supply.
Right, because there's two different challenges there for sure. Talking about opportunities now, there must be a lot of them for your industry because of technology, especially. What are some of the opportunities coming out for you?
Yeah. So for us, I think the biggest opportunities is you're going to see in the green energy space, clean energy technology, EV chargers. I mean, we're just on the cusp of EV chargers. We've put in a number of them. In fact, one of the first jobs that I priced as an estimator in 2010 had an EV charger, a couple of them on it, and we were able to install those over a decade ago. But they've still been fairly few and far
That's a
between.
lifetime. That's a lifetime in EV world.
A lot of the companies really didn't even exist. The companies that are around now, they didn't even exist back then.
Right.
So it was hard to get those chargers. But that's a big thing on the horizon for us. It's a big opportunity. I think that's going to change the game a lot. Obviously, it's all electrically powered, so there's a lot of infrastructure that's going to have to go in to support that.
What about smart homes? Do you get involved? That's a big, huge growth area. And is it something the electrical contracting world is taking care of, or is it its own entity?
So the smart home is not only smart homes, but also smart buildings. So you're going to see a lot more. You hear a lot about smart home because that affects the average person. You're also going to see it a lot in buildings, connected buildings, network buildings soon. Certainly on smart home, we've done a fair amount of that in our business, and we're actually on the cusp of really diving deeply into the smart home and offering that for our customers on a level that most other electrical contractors are not doing right now. It's a little bit fragmented out there. So you have a few companies that are solely focused on smart home, but a lot of them, believe it or not, they don't have electricians.
Right.
So what they're doing is they're focusing on some of the flashy stuff that, the speakers, some of the security items, maybe some door locks and stuff, but they really can't get into the real smart home stuff because you have to control the power in the house properly. And so you need an electrical company to actually handle that part of it. So that's something we're really diving into now. We've done quite a bit of it in the last year.
And it's also becoming more accessible or easy to purchase. It's not as expensive or it's not as complicated, or people kind of get what it is. So they sort of go, oh, well, you're doing my power, my all this stuff. Let's talk smart home now. And you kind of can integrate it easily.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. I think the other side of it is you're seeing a lot of the consumer products. They're really pushing them. They're selling them at the big box stores. They're pushing the ads on TV for some of the flashier stuff, the speakers and that type of thing. And so that's getting consumers to start thinking about that. So for us now, what we find is that they'll get something as a gift, or they'll go out and buy something on a whim. And okay, well, what do I do with it now? Right? And it's not like it used to be. So smart home used to be a very much a wired system, right? You picked an ecosystem, you went into a home, you had to wire it. It was typically only for people that had, some money to spend on this type of thing. And it was a lot more complicated. Now it's becoming a lot more accessible, but people are still looking for an electrician or someone who really understands the systems to set it up, get it set up for them, and get it into a position where they can use it usefully at home. But it's a lot cheaper to put into now because a lot of it is wireless. A lot of it integrates with your existing wiring in your home. You don't have to have a whole separate set of network cabling in there to hook it up now. A lot of it's Wi-Fi. So yeah, definitely it's you're going to see a lot more of it.
Yeah. Is there one thing that you're super proud of with the business in all your years there that you really go, this makes me really proud, whether it be the people or the business itself? What's made you really proud to run the business?
I would say our culture. People. It's going to sound biased, but I know it's true because we've done surveys, and people tell us all the time they love working here. And I think the biggest thing about that is the culture piece. Even as we've grown, we've really kept a family feel. People feel at home here. They feel connected. They feel like they have a future career here. We've found that balance between being a bigger than average contractor, without losing the tight knit feel, right? So people there's smaller contractors that they got a great culture, but there's not really a whole lot of opportunity because there's a handful of employees and that's it, right? They do a certain amount of business and that's it. We've really grown the business, but we've maintained that culture. In fact, I think we've enhanced it.
Yeah, to scale up and keep the culture, that is complex, I'd say, for sure.
Yeah,
sure
we've worked really hard at it, and it's authentic. I mean, that it reflects the myself and my business partner. It just reflects who we are and what we want to do. We really get really excited about like growing the team. It's fun bringing on new people and seeing how they can do at the business and giving them a chance to really flourish is so rewarding.
Well, on that note, Aaron, I want to thank you for joining me on Constructive Conversations today.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm George Affleck. Thanks for joining me at Constructive Conversations, Building Canada Stories, where we dig into the foundations of Canada's construction industry, learning from leaders and pioneers in the business.